It starts off with an enjoyment of music, whether it be some 60s classics,
Up to the spirit in the sky.
some emotional orchestra, or some modern dance. It then comes to the patriotic aspect of knowing that your Scottish descendants went into battle with the most motivational backing track they could have ever asked for. And finally, you want to play an instrument that will make your family beyond proud. That's why you play the bagpipes. Bagpipes are one of that things that just purely by sound can be identified worldwide. This amazing instrument is most popular throughout Scotland and Ireland, as this is where the pipes originally descended from. Alongside being the national instrument of Scotland, they are also symbolic to Scotland, because if you ask a typical American to describe a Scottish version, they will say to you, "Ginger wears a kilt and plays the bagpipes." Despite being a traditionally Scottish instrument, the pipes are played across the world in all different forms and styles, ranging from small pipes to typical Highland bagpipes, which I myself play. I'm Robert Ironside. I've been playing bagpipes now for 6 years, and I'm also the creator of this film you're watching right now. I started learning pipes back 6 years ago with Fraserburgh RBL Pipe Band, which I am still with now actually. I spent a few years learning the pipes, and then since then I've been competing every single year non-stop, got to practice 2 times a week, getting maximum effort in to try and increase our performance to the best. I've competed in the World Pipe Band Championships twice now, and I've been there spectating once, and it's an amazing thing, the Worlds. If you ever get a chance to go, highly recommend it. But anyway, I also play solo piping, which I am not the best at. As I'll explain further on this film, I'm just not the best at solo piping. I'll just end it at that just now. I also play at numerous weddings, events, charity kind of things. And what I'm getting at here is, number one, I'm available for hire at weddings and events if you want me, unless it's a major competition, then I'm going to manage. But otherwise, details in the description, or just email me at robert55ironside@gmail.com. Playing at weddings and that kind of events is probably my favourite thing to do piping, because the happiness that you bring just for playing an instrument, it's an amazing feeling. Like the wedding I was playing at a few weeks ago, I was playing the bride and groom out of the wedding. Everybody's up on their feet, clapping their hands, smiling. Abdi's happy. It's a traditional wedding that just Abdi loves to see. And when I was playing the guests in, and also when the photos were getting taken, people walk past you, people stand next to you, get photos taken, everybody is smiling. No one person's like, "Oh, and I like sound of pipes, pipes is bad." You're at a wedding, you're happy. It makes Abdi just so happy and just so kind of grateful there's still that kind of happiness in the world. For me, being the person that's making that people happy and making them enjoy their day, that's an amazing feeling. Same with when you're playing at events and that, playing at functions or that kind of thing. You see the folks smiling, clapping, enjoying themselves because of you. It just makes you feel so good, and it reminds you why I love playing pipes. The bagpipes is probably the most technical and challenging instrument of all to learn and play. You must be able to march, squeeze, blow, play the chanter, and on top of that, memorise a tune, all of which needs to be done whilst either performing in front of an audience or competing for a judge. To do this, you need to not only have a good memory, but also be physically fit. There are many different components that come together to create the bagpipes, such as the chanter, bass drone, inner tenor drone, outer tenor drone, drone stocks, blow stick, mouthpiece, chanter reed, drone reeds, cords, and finally the bog, which can either be sheepskin or synthetic. These are just the parts of the pipes, but once assembled it takes a huge amount of fine tuning before you can get the exact sound that you're looking for. Alongside being possibly the most difficult instrument, it is also most certainly the least flattering one. A pipe band is where a piper really develops their skills, as this is where they learn the key skill of marching, but also experience teamwork and participation. When playing for a band, over time you develop a connection with each member, as you're not just with these people once a month, but every single week, and many weekends out of a year. All this time together essentially makes the band your second family, and like a family, there are members who you may not necessarily get on with or like, but at the end of the day, that's the way they are, and you just have to get on with that. The key feature of running a good pipe band is respect. Respect for each other, respect for the time people put in, and respect to anyone who's ever played with the band, doesn't matter where they are now. Pipe bands do not always compete, as some bands just teach, some only compete, and some only do small events. A lot, however, do all of these things, which means they are busy playing different types of tunes all year round, so they cannot fully focus on competitions like other bands. The competing side of bagpipes is something that you'll never really understand unless you're part of it, because when you're competing, everybody is there on that day for one specific reason, and that's to win. There are 4 different grades of pipe bands, ranging from 4 being the lowest to 1 being the highest. Much like football, the lower end competitors play and train to one day hopefully be good enough to play for one of the world class bands. 2 bands you may have heard of are Field Marshal Montgomery Pipe Band and Inveraray District Pipe Band, as last year Inveraray won the Worlds and this year Field Marshal won the Worlds. So they are very popular now, but also just amazing. Just because players are not in a grade 1 band does not at all mean that they are a bad player. For example, most pipe majors are all capable of playing with grade 1, but at some point they've decided that they would rather lead and develop players as opposed to continuing to learn and win. Even players in the lowest grade have the capabilities to play up a grade or even up a few grades, but they may not have the access to, have the time to, or simply just don't want to put in the effort needed for the higher grades. The 5 major competitions held across the yearly season determine the best band from each grade, and they are crowned the champions of either Britain, the United Kingdom, Europe, Scotland, and finally, champions in the world. And if they're exceptionally good, then they could be champions of all 5 of them. To be able to say that you play with the band that are the best in the world is a magnificent statement. As I said previously though, that unless you're part of the pipe band world, you don't understand the effort put in, the time you've got to get up in the morning, the places you've got to go, the time you've got to travel, the money it costs to compete in a band. And because of all this, it means that when you wake up in the morning on the day of a competition, and sometimes that could be 2 o'clock in the morning, you've got to get up with the mindset that you're going to that event and you are going to win. The other side of competitive piping is through solos, which relies on completely your own individual skill. If you do well, you know it was all your work that got you there, but if you do bad, then you know that it's no one else to blame. To play alone in front of a judge and a hall filled with people is a daunting thought, which can have a major effect on your performance if you lack confidence. Solo piping is really more confidence reliant than it is skill based, because you could be the best piper in the world, but if you lack confidence, then you're going to really struggle to put on a good performance and get that first place. Here is a clip of me at the Huntley Pipe Band solos one year, playing ridiculously fast and mucking up, all due to the fact that I was really nervous. As any musician knows, there is a big difference between playing music and creating music. You can play each note of a tune perfectly, but if you're not musical, then it is only notes and nothing else. To create music, you need to be a musician, and in piping terms, when a piper one day realises the importance of phrases, beats and timing, then and only then are they a real piper. I wanted to create this short film to show you the world of bagpipes and how interesting and individual it is. If you even for 1 second consider learning an instrument, make sure you choose the bagpipes, because trust me, you will not regret it.